Your mother's in here with his card. Would you like to leave a message? I see that she gets it. If that's true, then you must know my mother's maiden name. What is it? What is it?
And that was a clip from The Exorcist from 1973, the last horror film to be nominated for a Best Picture Oscar.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is This is Movies, the podcast, and this is Brenda.
Oh, wait, the English patient. Oh, I'm sorry.
This is Rob.
This is Jordan.
This is Curtis.
This is Dan.
Oh, he speaks.
Unfortunately.
He's spoken. Was it the last one? Did I consider Silence of the Lambs a horror?
That one.
I guess not.
Probably
Not that would be considered a horror.
Not a psychological thriller?
I would consider it more a thriller.
Crime
or an action
procedural.
film.
Well, I thought it was always touted as the only horror film to win Best Picture.
I still think it's amazing when you watch The Exorcist that it was nominated for that many Oscars. It's fantastically
I
acted.
It's an amazing movie.
I know, but it's like when Whatever Happened to Baby Jane got nominated, you're like, what? Not that it's not good, but horror and
But there are
action
some
movies don't
every
get...
year there's some head scratching nominations for best. I mean, there's some things that have snuck through.
Yeah.
Beast of the Southern Wild.
Yeah, tell that to Leonardo DiCaprio, okay?
Oh,
In what?
Poor Leo. This is his year.
So, this episode we're talking about American horror. What
My
has everybody been
favorite
up
topic.
We love American horror.
What has everybody been up to?
What have we been
I want to talk about a movie that I thought was horrible,
Girl Most Likely.
which was Girl Most Likely, the new Kristen Wiig.
I like how you segue.
I watched two movies. I watched The Way Back, and
How was
watched
that? Or let's see that.
and I watched Girl Most Likely, and it's the movies are very similar, and one is done incredibly well, The Way Back, and one is done horribly, and that would be Girl Most Likely. Way Back felt fresh, even though it's a kind of movie we've seen before. The people are playing parts we've seen them play before.
Curtis calls it Adventureland 2.
No.
Was it not?
Because
Because when I
Not
watched the
at all.
trailer, I thought, I've seen
Not
this
at all.
movie before.
Mm-mm.
I know. I keep trying to get
It's-
him to go watch it. He won't watch it with me.
No, you need to see it. And Allison Janney should get an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress for her role. I think she has found her niche playing those crazy,
Sassy
sassy drunk women. She's amazing in it. Everyone is really great in it. Girl Most Likely, we were watching it. My best friend Grant and I were watching it, and a fire alarm went off about 10 minutes before it ended. And I looked at Grant.
It wasn't at my
And they
theater.
started. No, it was another. And everyone was evacuating. And I looked at Grant and I said, "God does answer prayer." Because the best part of that movie was that the fire alarms went off and we didn't have to finish
How was
it.
Annette Bening?
Horrible.
Oh, really?
The plot was horrible. That everyone
Was Darren Criss naked at least once?
No.
I don't want to
Darren Criss wasn't naked. Everyone was playing parts that they've played before, but better in better movies. Annette Bening's playing her role from Running with Scissors. Darren Criss is playing his role from Glee.
straight?
Matt Dillon is playing. Yeah, Matt Dillon's playing the same character he played in There's Something About Mary. Kristen
That's what I
Wiig.
thought from the trailer.
Kristen Wiig is playing the same fucking character she plays in every fucking movie, and I'm getting so tired of it. And she deserves better. She really does. And this movie was just. It was an okay idea. It was kind of like Postcards from the Edge, but the Down syndrome version.
Oh.
Sorry, Ohio.
There goes the pull quote.
Woo! But literally, it was Postcards from the Edge, but with nothing good about it. It was the same basic plot line.
I love the Benning. That's the only reason I would have seen it.
And she's not
The
great in
Benning?
it.
The
She's
Benning.
not great, and you feel sorry for her.
Stop trying to make the bending
Like
happen.
you really,
it's
really feel bad.
happened.
So way back, I would definitely recommend if you see it. You know, when it's probably not in theaters anymore, but if
we're
you're
still playing it.
It's on video on demand.
Oh, shut up. Just come watch it in my theater.
or you
Oh,
know,
wait. By
or-
this time, no. We'll be out of theaters.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
That was his idea to pretend. Never mind.
I'm terrible.
So do check that out. I think Way Back was really great, and avoid Girl Most Likely with
That will be on
with
video next
gusto.
week.
I'd rather watch White House Down again.
So I should pretend that there's nothing but vaginas in that house, in that auditorium?
Nothing but vaginas. Massive vaginas.
Oh, yes, Dan. I'll point.
So I think 3 out of the 4 of us have seen The Conjuring.
Yes, so good.
That's a good right?
So good.
He told me he was so worked up that he started crying.
There were tears in my eyes in the last 10 minutes because you're thinking, I should leave. I should not finish this movie.
Yeah.
When they get back to the house, I won't spoil anything, but when they get back to the house at the end of the movie, I was gripping myself like, oh my God. I can leave. I didn't realize what it was going to turn into in the end. It's not a plot twist, but it's a natural progression of events. I just didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
So it definitely was.
And it is a premise that has been beaten to death by Hollywood.
Oh,
I
my
mean, it
gosh.
is. We have seen so many movies, good movies, bad movies, horrible movies, direct-to-video. I mean, this, white family in peril in a haunted house thing has been done to death. And I felt this one was fresh. I felt it had new perspectives. The acting is really good. Vera Farmiga. Is it Farmiga?
Farmiga, I think.
Farmiga is amazing in it.
I love Lily Taylor.
And she is... First of all, she looks the same she's always looked. She is not aged at all, but she is amazing.
This. I mean, I don't want to be like so superficial, but she's becoming like another Lena Horne. Like she just gets more beautiful as she gets older. Because when I first started watching films she was in, she was always portrayed as the kind of like awkward, ugly duckling. And I don't know, even though she's, scared out of her wits most of the film, I think she looked gorgeous for some reason.
She's very pretty, and I think she's a great actress. Patrick Wilson was good in it. The kids weren't as annoying as usually children are.
Well, I have to say, and that's what I think, there's tons of elements that make it better than most horror movies, but it's honestly Vera Farmiga and Lily Taylor to some extent, but so much Vera Farmiga that makes that role real and
and she has amazing chemistry with the actors she works with. She just
yes, because Patrick Wilson's pretty much dead. Like he can barely act. People think he's talented. I'm like he can play pretty, and
he's very pretty.
He's gorgeous.
And see, he's sold you.
And he wears tight pants.
Those pants are why it's rated R.
And the cop, the sheriff.
I know.
I wanted that.
So
leave it to the gays to make this horror film gay.
I noticed it, but she really sold you on the human aspect of it. And no, she's not getting an Oscar nomination or something like that. But I wish the Independent Spirit Awards would award it because it was a great performance. She was fantastic. It was a little.
I hate how like in some of the critiques I read, they were kind of slamming her wardrobe and saying it was kind of over the top, but that's how the character dressed.
She dresses
That's how
like that.
Lorraine Warren. If those of you haven't seen it, Vera Farmiga plays and Patrick Wilson play a real life couple who were the paranormal investigators in Amityville.
In the Amityville horror.
And if you're a fan of Coast to Coast AM, or you're a fan of like Paranormal State on A&E, or a lot of these shows, Lorraine Warren, who's Vera's character, it shows up on those shows a lot, and she has kind of a cult following among people that are into the paranormal. And so she wears very high collars and cameos, and she wears long skirts. That is part of just her personal style. And so I thought it was very appropriate, and I'm glad that they did that.
Her jewelry was very eccentric.
It was very eccentric. And if you see pictures of Lorraine Warren now, you'll... Yes, that is exactly...
I didn't realize how big of a character...
Sorry,
I didn't realize how... It's like when you step into a real-life person's, like if someone's playing Hillary Clinton or something. I didn't realize that role that she was playing was someone that was kind of, like you said, has a following. So she had to do her best to...
But that's what made the film so much better, is it wasn't just, oh my God, all this scary stuff's happening to us. Let's call someone. You follow both storylines, and they meet. And so you're following Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga and Lily Taylor, and their lives are going, and then they meet because of this event. But what made her character different, what made it even scarier, is you care so much about the family that when shit starts to get a little crazy, like, you're into it. You don't want these bad things to happen, and Vera Farmiga's character just really wants to help this family, and you can tell, like, she seems like a genuine person who wants to help this family.
Yeah, I think one thing that like really will get people across the board, just in any horror film.
We got a new drinking game going on. Brenda, clear your throat.
Sorry, I had too much dairy.
Oh God!
It's the easy cheese.
See what happens?
There's no dairy in easy cheese.
There is, I lied.
Anywho, it's like the children's reactions, because one. Everybody's
I'm gonna do
bizarre.
some shots to this episode when I listen to it.
you've been a child, and you've kind of experienced something like that, or if you're a parent, it really gets to you, and you see the kids' reactions to things. I think that's and you see both. Like you said, it parallels both families. So you see the reactions from both of the family's children.
Well, what was cool is you don't always see what you want to see.
Nancy, don't. Nancy, no, look. There's no one here. See? Ugh, it's that smell again. Oh my God. It's standing right behind you.
You don't, some of the ghosts, the apparitions only appear to one person and not another person. And then sometimes you do see it and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's
in your face.
Face. And I think that's what's really cool about it. I had to research the hell out of it so I knew what was true and what was not true. And a lot of it is true from what the kids said, and a lot of it is fictionalized or made bigger, but it was such an intense movie experience. I want to see it again just to see if it still holds up.
I know I haven't seen this one, but you let me borrow that film, The Haunting in Connecticut.
Oh yeah,
and
it's way scarier than that.
My boyfriend had seen the documentary that the film was based on, or the the events, and that movie scared the living shit out of me. And you're telling me that's scarier?
It's way scarier than Haunting in Connecticut.
And what was interesting, we talked about it. We talked about it on other podcasts. Take that shot, people. Thanks, Ohio. I felt like in the theater it was a very group event. Like people were squirming. Like the woman sitting next to me was like turning to me.
She's Conjuring?
Like, she's like, "Oh no, this isn't happening." And she's like looking at me, and I'm like, "I don't know who you are, but I'm with you. I will be with you."
I was by myself, and I was holding myself.
I loved it. And then there were moments when everyone in the theater just started. You could hear people squirming. People were like moving around and hiding. It was so much fun.
Was on her face. And then all of a sudden that sheet ripped. I said, hell no.
Yeah.
I went to see it with my best friend. She does not like seeing horror films. Like, as long as I've known her, we can't watch one on DVD, Netflix, in the theaters. I don't know how. I think a while ago we watched The Purge, and she kind of built up to it. And the funny thing is, when we got to the theater, I hadn't realized that she hadn't seen the trailers or the teaser.
You traumatized her.
Yes.
Is she somewhere like rocking in a corner?
The teaser is
combing her doll's hair.
Effective things. The funny thing, I saw the teaser for that when I went to see the Evil Dead remake, and I was like, a little disappointed with the Evil Dead remake. But once I saw the teaser for The Conjuring, I was like, I cannot wait till that comes out. And I have to say, it didn't disappoint. And seeing that one and then the full trailer, I got really excited about it.
I want to see how it plays when we're not worked up and watching it with people. And I don't. But good horror movies go home with you.
It's one of those films that I think makes it even that much better.
I never laughed. I did not laugh that entire movie. Like, I was so suspenseful.
The film, from a box office standpoint, it was the highest grossing horror movie.
Highest grossing original,
and it had a really good, respectable drop off. That's what I was looking at because
it's still like in the top 5. I think
it's number 2. It was still number 2 this past weekend, and it only had a 46% drop off. Which you look at something like The Purge had over 70% drop off from week 1 to week 2.
And it's well reviewed.
And Conjuring is very well reviewed, and people love it. Their cinema score on that movie is just like.
Yeah, the only time I've seen a horror movie perform like that, I mean, usually comedies and horror movies don't perform that well. And the last time I seen a movie like that was the Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah,
and that was it.
Cabin in the Woods not perform very well.
No, I mean talking about ratings wise.
Oh,
88% on.
Oh, you mean critics? Yeah.
Yeah, critics. I mean, absolutely love that movie, and same thing with Conjuring.
Yeah, let me just point out though, it's rated R. It's not gory. There's no language. There's no nudity. It's that good scary.
Yeah, it's just the terror element.
I remember when you found that out. You're like, it's so scary that it's rated R. There's nothing else in it that would be offensive, but how scary it is.
There really isn't. And there aren't.
There's a little bit of blood in the end.
And the violence is not even as overt as
one of the scariest things in the movie is a sheet and a figure. That's it.
And the matches,
Oh no!
Can we not spoil? Spoiler alert!
We can. I've seen. I watched clips to death before I watch a movie, and it still was like when it was happening. You're like,
I'm still not convinced it's playing in Houston. I have not found a theater yet.
That goes to like a complaint I've had before. Remember a while back with Sinister, how like they revealed everything in the trailer.
Conjuring.
With
what-
this, yeah,
Ghost
even
House
with
wasn't
the-
that another one? Ghost House, where it was like Daniel Craig's movie, where
I didn't see that.
They were
Dream
building-
House.
Oh, Dream
Dreamhouse.
House.
Not a scary movie.
Yeah.
Trailer
Not
was
intentionally.
no
Some scary acting.
The trailer made you think it was going to be a scary movie. It's not. It's like a psychological drama, not even a thriller.
No, but this is an instance where the movie definitely delivered on the trailer.
Dead on. Very proud of it, actually.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
very
so
good.
now into our
We'll have to go see this movie.
oh yeah, I'll totally rewatch it.
I'll totally rewatch it.
Now into our topic, which is American horror, and for anybody who's listened to at least one episode of the show, you know that I always manage to find a way to bring horror into any topic.
I think that's you, Curtis, Jordan. Almost every episode.
We
has to
do.
have
We
a
do.
horror in it.
Horror
Yeah,
is an
it-
amazing genre.
it goes without
and
saying,
it crosses so many barriers.
Every genre can do that. That's one of my topics I was going to point out.
Yeah, it goes without saying.
Leave
I
it
love
to
horror.
Rob to have the contrary opinion to me.
He's having it to all
You know
of
what we
us.
should do? That's the drinking game. Take a shot every time Rob disagrees with Jordan.
Or Brenda gets interrupted.
Everyone will be wasted.
This is turning into a fat family dinner.
Anywho. So yeah, beyond movies, I've always read horror books. I've always been into like the R.L. Stein. I've always
Did you just reference Goosebumps?
no, not Goosebumps. Goosebumps can
no, Eureka's Castle, close though.
before Goosebumps.
I think R.L. Stein wrote Goosebumps.
He did. I mean, I love R.L. Stein, but I'm not talking about Goosebumps.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There's apparently some emotion with Goosebumps. Something happened at the book fair in sixth grade.
I've been conjured.
R.L. Stein once interrupted Brenda while talking.
On a Goosebumps tour.
Comics, I've always
Heaving into this thing.
Brenda's gonna go all Carrie on us, like set the room
Fisher?
on fire.
Yeah.
Anyways, I've always been into horror comics, horror films, horror books. So was totally psyched about this topic, even now as I'm being interrupted. I asked you guys to kind of name not necessarily your favorite horror film, but one you really remember being scared of. And for me, as a kid, I think I was 6 when this movie came out, 5 or 6. It was Child's Play.
I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
I probably shouldn't have been watching it at that age, but I ended up seeing it then. And of course, as somebody who had a bunch of dolls, this, really stayed with me, and it freaked me out for a while.
You went home and threw them all out.
I think I watched it at home on VHS. But not for nothing, but I saw it earlier this year, and I think at the Alamo.
It holds up well.
It really holds up. My brother saw it with me, and I think it was his first time seeing it, and he was creeped out.
It was on cable the other day, and I'm like, oh, look at this. Look how oh my God, that fucking doll's scary.
I haven't seen it
Because
probably since I was
they
a
made
kid.
him scary. And
Yeah.
the sequels,
Well, actually, the first 2 sequels, 2 and 3, also have like a genuine creepy factor. Anything after that, like Bride of Chucky or Son of Chucky, it's kind of more of like a campy comedy twist to it.
Whenever Jennifer Tilly shows up.
and John Waters.
Oh,
Shit hits the fan.
I love those ones though.
Yeah, I mean, I love the whole series.
Yeah.
But for me, Child's Play, the first one, would have to be the one that really gets me.
So if nobody knows by now, but I'm Mexican. And
That's
my-
weird.
We're still waiting on his papers.
Racist.
I
thought you were Greek.
I would we used to live by Northline Mall, and there's a General Cinemas there. And I would say, take me to the movies, and I made her take me to a bunch of movies, and one of them was Child's Play. She was so mad at me because she used to collect dolls. I say used to, because that movie scared her so much. She was so mad at me as soon as we left that theater. So I have a special place. That movie has a special place in my heart for terrifying
Traumatizing your mother?
my mother.
That is so funny you say that though, because my grandfather used to travel a lot, so my grandma would be home with my mom and my aunt, and so my grandma would want to watch scary movies. This was in the '60s, and would make my mom watch them with her. When I was a kid, my mom did the same thing to me. She would make us watch scary movies with her. So I know exactly what you mean. Like there's this all my family things always connected to scary movies. And my family still, to this day, we love watching scary movies together.
It's such a, I don't know, it becomes a release, even though it kind of creeps you out. And there's times where it's like more entertaining, and there's times where it's, you know, it could be scarier. But I mean, I always have fun with them, I think.
I think I should look at it like that more often, because you've known me for a long time. You know that horror's never been a thing of mine. But I've watched horror with you, and it's been fun. And now I've started watching more horror with him. So maybe I won't be such a grumpy pants about watching horror movies. I'll just say
horror snob. Well, actually, I think I would be the horror snob, but snobbish towards horror.
Oh, horror!
I've been called a horror snob before.
So, Child's Play.
Yeah, I think that definitely have to be among the ones that's kind of scared me the most. Candyman is another one.
I would say on my list.
Anytime you bring up horror films to my stepfather, he's like what? He's like in his late 50s now. He always brings up Candyman.
Be my victim. I am the writing on the wall, the whisper in the classroom. Without these things, I am nothing. So now I must shed innocent blood. Come with me.
But do you know why it's so good? The acting is good, yet again. When you choose a good actor, you can actually make a horror movie, you can elevate it. But it's the, I'm going to say this wrong, the social implications of it.
Yeah.
The things that are implied. It's a cultural thing. I don't know how.
It's making a comment on society.
Yes, and the neighborhood is real. And
Yeah.
there's so many layers of reality to it that it can take it to this fantastic story.
Right.
And I, in my head, when I was a kid and I saw that, you know, Candyman was threatening her because she didn't believe in him, and he wanted her to be scared, to teach people to be scared of him. I was scared. I believe in you. Like, don't come.
Yeah.
In my head, I know that if I was scared of him forever.
It's an amazing movie, and the score is amazing too. The Philip Glass did the score.
Were you the one that told me the trivia about this?
About
Maybe it
what?
was Justin. Philip Glass thought he was doing like a independent, low budget, like classy kind of film. That's why the score is so classy for that movie.
Oh, I
it's
didn't know
not,
that. I think it's one of the best elements of the movie is the score.
It's not a horror movie of a ding ding ding. It's very just slow piano playing.
Very
And he would
slow.
not release the score until 2000
Wow.
because he was so mad. But it's fantastic.
And they used some of it.
But how would he have scored it without seeing the content?
He doesn't.
'Cause
I don't
he's a
think
genius.
I don't think he scores over the horror scenes. You see.
But yeah, you're right. It is still something that kind of gets under your skin.
It's subtle. It's beautiful. Candyman's.
But I mean, you just made a good point about horror. I mean, I think it could do that. It can be really campy and silly and stuff
And
like
that's
that. But
great.
you can make a lot of social or political comment with it.
Think of how many movies have done that.
Definitely. I mean, The Exorcist, which is the top of most top horror film lists, has a lot to say about the Catholic Church. It has a lot to say about the nature of faith. Its sequels kind of go completely off the rails, but you know, and I think that was maybe one of the reasons it resonated really well with people, is that it does talk about, and I thought that about The Conjuring too, because there is a religious element to The Conjuring, and it was really done well, and The Exorcist, which is, I think, a really great movie. It's probably not the best. I wouldn't put it as number one on my list, but it incorporates those references to, because the priest is doubting his faith, and it's about questioning your faith, and what do you believe in and what don't you believe in, and you know, for the same reason that Candyman has a context in the real world.
I will say, we were talking about the scariest movie, not necessarily. I can't watch The Exorcist. I still can't.
Really?
I've tried to watch the behind-the-scenes documentaries to make it less scary. I've tried to watch, like...
What is it about it that scares you?
Okay, there's a couple of things. So my dad was, I think, trying to teach us about commitment, and he said, "Do you want to watch this scary movie?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he said, "You have to finish it." And my brother and I wonder if my Jacob even remembers this, but you have to finish it. And we're like, okay, it's at the beginning of the movie's not scary. For like an hour, it's not scary. And then when that shit hits the fan, oh my God. Now, we weren't raised religious. So I thought the devil was like Freddy Krueger, but he like possesses you. So I'm like, oh my God, this is going to happen to me. Yeah. Like I slept on the side of my mother's bed for a month. I'm still terrified of that film. And I don't even believe in God and the devil. But to me, it's a boogeyman. It's not a real construct. Right. But not believing is scarier than believing. It terrified me.
When they re-released it in
I
think the
couldn't
early
watch
aughts,
yes,
with the extra footage and her going on like the crab walk down the stairs, that was like,
Yeah, and you know what's scary about it too is it's not. You could watch that movie and cut out all the weird head turning, like all that scenes, and it's still terrifying.
Right.
Just the fear from everybody. That Ellen Burstyn is. I almost said Barkin. Ellen Burstyn is so terrified. I don't know how she made that movie because for months she was probably like shaking because she's playing fear.
I read in one of the behind the scenes that she was really traumatized by working on that movie.
I wonder about Linda Blair too, because what she was like 12 or 13.
Yeah,
I could see her getting over that. Like her thing was like playing in a way.
Yeah,
But Ellen Barkin had to play this like if you watch that movie, she's at this pitch for so long. But I still have trouble watching it. I don't
I'm
know.
gonna have to rewatch that one. It's been
Yeah.
the last time I saw it was during that re-release where they added in all the
Yeah.
footage. That's the last time I saw it.
I don't even have a copy at my house.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah,
It's a
I
good movie.
don't.
One of the movies when I was a kid that really scared me was Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah.
They're remaking it.
Which is really.
They cast Rosemary DeWitt as the JoBeth Williams.
Oh, I love Rosemary DeWitt. Because as a child I was really afraid of closets and clowns and the clown doll, and then the things under the bed, things in the closet. That was always very frightening to me. But it's I watched it recently again, and I think it holds up really well because it does have that. It has an innocence to it, and it has a sweetness to it. The music, really, John Williams' score really helps with that, and it has a very pure quality to it, and I it still freaks me out.
Do you ever
It still
wonder why
creeps
it's
me out.
PG? Last time I watched it, I thought, how is this PG?
Well, they used to rate movies a lot
Just
different.
PG to R.
Yeah,
It's so eerie too with the
Wasn't the
supposed
good-
curse around the
Right.
film and the actors.
And there's so many good. I mean, JoBeth Williams is good in it, and Craig T. Nelson was my first daddy bear
Beatrice
crush.
Straight's in
But,
it.
Beatrice Strait's in it. Zelda Rubinstein is good in it, and it has a very, because it played on that suburban subdivision
Nightmare.
but things that are under the surface, but it's really good. And when you know the story behind it, and and so many people have died that were.
Oh, and there were
you
real
know,
bodies in the
They
pits.
used real bodies. Those skeletons were real, and they didn't.
Have you not seen it, Rob?
The prop people.
I think I have, but
Oh, you'd remember.
When the coffins start popping out of the ground and the skeleton, they're in the swimming pool with the skeletons. They didn't know at the time, but the prop people had gotten actual skeletons, like human skeletons, not fake skeletons.
And she's swimming in there with them, trying
And
to
she's
get
swimming
out.
in there with real human skeletons.
that's fucked up.
So yeah, and it was.
Somebody should get cut over that.
That's what I mean, though, when we
That's how you
talk
get
about
ants.
layers of a horror movie. You can make
Yeah.
an easy, cheap horror movie, but when you do layers, not that they did it on purpose, but there's layers in that movie when you learn about the behind the scenes, it's more and more terrifying.
Right. Yikes. And I think it holds the test of time for sure. It was probably it's one of my earliest, and still the fuzz on a TV, the what's it called? The static on the television still kind of creeps me out.
It should.
And
It's kind
I
of
still-
iconic now because of it.
And I still don't sleep with all the lights off. Like I don't like the dark, and I have a lot of fears of closed doors and things like
And
that.
that scene in The
'cause
Conjuring must have really freaked you out, where she's looking under her bed.
Holy shit. I turned all the way around in the seat. I was squirming like a little girl. It was
That's an effective scene.
and I still get creeped out, and if I go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and the shower curtain's closed, I still for just a split second I'm like
I haven't.
or if I fall asleep with the closet door open but I can't see into the closet, it scares the shit out of me. I'm such a
This is
pussy.
making me nervous.
But it's
But those were kind of I guess the horror films that scared us, but not necessarily our favorite. Favorite for me, and this also goes into series, which is actually more on television, but just Tales from the Crypt all around. I have to mention, from the comics to the show on HBO. I love it. We had when I was growing up, we had cable off and on, so every time I got to catch an episode of Tales from the Crypt, I was really excited. And when the first movie came out, Demon Knight, I think it was '95. I think I was 12. I begged my dad to take me to it, and I ended up loving it. And I recently rewatched it, and I love it even more. It's something that holds up.
Jada Pinkett Smith is fierce in that movie.
And Billy Zane just makes the whole thing. It crosses it kind
No,
of walks that
whenever-
line of comedy and horror But and it has its funny moments, but it's still a creepy film.
But that plot device of using the blood of Christ to create barriers.
Yeah.
And when they break that barrier, the moment that happens, God, I was like, it was so panicky in that moment.
I guess I need to watch it.
And remember when she like lifts her hand up? That's me flicking you off.
They have awesome like comedic timing.
She had lost her arm, and she's like flicking someone off, but she's missing her arm. So she's like, "What are you doing?"
She just points the stub at Billy Zane.
That's me flicking you off.
This is in the 90s.
I've never seen it.
I think I've
really?
heard,
Oh,
I don't
it's
think
so
I've ever
good.
seen it.
I've heard of Bordello of Blood.
Oh, that's terrible.
Okay.
That is horrendous.
Yeah, it's pretty. But Demon Knight is fucking awesome.
I believe both movies are on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to look them
There
up.
was even a third, which I just recently heard about, that it just came out a few years ago called, I believe it was called Ritual, and it had Jennifer Grey. And it's gotten, it was, I think it went straight to DVD. I haven't heard good things about it, or a lot about it in general, but I guess it's worth checking out.
Jennifer Grey is such an amazing actress.
Academy Award not nominated.
Exactly.
I think, it's funny, we were talking about how the movies when I was younger, The Exorcist, Candyman, like those really scared us, and they're still scary today, but now the older I get, it's like the psychological terror, what Rob's doing, gets me worse. So like stuff like The Shining, that gets under my skin, because that can happen. People could lose their mind and try and kill you. It doesn't matter if they're family, or maybe that's probably why they kill each other. But
Yeah.
Well, like, going back on that, I don't know, I guess it goes on whether you believe in ghosts or not, but something to me like The Conjuring, that seems more plausible than something like, say, Jason or Freddy. So those movies like that seem to like creep me out more.
see, it's weird you say that, because in my real life I don't believe any of that, but irrationally I do. But I don't worry about a Jason or Michael Myers showing up at my door. That's never terrified me. I like the first and second Halloween, but that's not scary. They're more like boo, scary, fun. But I don't worry about that.
It's that whole thing where like your imagination gets to play around and like.
No, it's true.
No,
Like,
my imagination gets to work. Whenever I used to work at the River Oaks, if I was the last manager out, someone had to walk with me to check the booth upstairs, check all the exits.
Yeah.
I wouldn't check the exits downstairs. I wouldn't. It scares a bitch.
When you're
shit
running
out
up
of
the
me.
stairs, like you think something's behind you. Look at the biggest selling horror flicks. I mean, you mentioned Conjuring. Remember Blair Witch Project? A little known project.
I just moved to the country when that movie came out, by the way. City Kid, Country, Blair Witch.
And it's
Never
easy to
saw the
make-
bad guy. Another one where you didn't really see CGI monsters like House on Haunted Hill and White Static or White Noise, whatever it was. And there was another one, the low budget one about the house. It just came out a couple years ago. They made like 7 parts.
Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
But you know what? But I will say, as we talk about old and new and horror movies, I'm glad are like Paranormal Activity are getting back to that slow psychological burn. One of my favorite scary movies is from the 60s called The Haunting. It's terrifying. There's no ghost. You don't see one ghost. You don't see a monster. It's just it ratchets its tension through sound effects, and that's all they had back then. It's still scary.
I've wanted you to show it to me. You said you love it so much.
That and The Innocents, which Truman Capote wrote, a horror movie back in the 60s. Phenomenal. Or maybe it's 50s. And I'm glad we're getting back to that Paranormal Activity. They're slow as the first two are slow burns. Blair Witch is a slow burn. I like those.
Well, I didn't mention a movie that like terrified me because almost every scary movie scared the shit out of me. But to me, I'm a fan of zombie movies, and it still doesn't burn out for me. Like I love the show. The other night I watched the trailer for season 4 of The Walking Dead, and so my dream was all zombies, and I woke up in the sweat because I was so scared. But one film that I watched that I was surprised that it was a great play on zombie movies was this Canadian film called, it's Canadian.
That's kind of American, Rob.
It was
North American.
It was Pontypool.
Yeah, I think I saw.
You
I
talked
saw it with
about
you.
this.
We talked about
you
that.
talked about this last, and I put it on my queue.
Have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
It's
so
on
I've
stream.
already talked about it.
When
Yeah,
we
I-
did foreign.
Oh, never mind.
Horror.
I'll talk about it again.
I
I hadn't mentioned it.
was just about to say that. I don't think any zombie movie has ever scared me.
Well,
I'm only gonna reference this one again because it doesn't show any zombies. The movie all takes place in a radio station, and this guy's doing his job late night. It's a blizzard outside, and he starts getting reports of something happening, and he doesn't take them seriously. But then he gets a hold of a source, and he's like, well, I need you to check on this, and he's playing his music and doing his thing, and then he starts getting more legitimate sources of what's happening, and it's all from his point of view. It never leaves the radio station, and you start realizing there's something happening. There's an epidemic happening outside that radio station, and when you start realizing how it plays out and how the infection happens, he's
not the only character, right?
No, he's not the only character.
Okay.
There's his producer. There's someone that comes in or something. I think there's only 3 characters in the entire movie. It's the buildup of that tension, and without seeing how it happens, and then when it gets to them, and you connected how. I don't want to spoil it, but just
I want to see it.
There's elements that he unknowingly played a part in what was happening.
Did it ruin it?
Well, you believe me, you won't be able to guess what it is.
Okay, good. I'm pretty dense with that kind of stuff, anyways.
Oh.
Yeah, no, you mentioned that, and I did. I remember putting it right up there because I'd heard about it before. But
I would love to rewatch it. I only saw it that one time. I was like, this is scary. I wanted to mention The Others. I don't know if a lot of people. I love that movie because I love Nicole Kidman. I love the director, but ghost stories have always scared me a lot. That's part of the reason I don't want to see The Conjuring.
You'll be so scared from.
In this one, I'm sure everybody's seen this movie by now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the twist of them being the ghost, I thought it was very poignant, but it was just really depressing of what happened. So I like that one, but I don't have a lot that I love.
Can I say this about The Others? And you guys know how much I love Nicole Kidman. I don't think that movie's scary at all, but it's creepy. And her performance is so good. She sells you. She sells everybody on the fact that these kids can't do this, and that she's terrified. And if you watch the movie now, you'll see that the housekeepers are always looking at her like, she's crazy, like, because they know she's dead. She doesn't know it. She's convinced herself she's in this frenzy. That performance is so perfect. It's the same year she did Moulin Rouge, so she got nominated for Moulin Rouge, but I always wish she'd got nominated for that.
It's a great performance.
Fantastic performance. Yeah, we were looking through the list of like the scariest movies, and I always hate to see The Ring, because although I think The Ring is a good detective story, like she's trying to figure out this mystery.
It's a thriller.
Yeah,
kind of. It's more thriller.
I don't think it's scary. Ever.
Not even the first time you saw it.
No. I remember who I saw it with.
Like
I remember when I saw it.
a jump scene here or there, but in general, yeah, I think you're right.
I don't worry about that coming out of my TV.
Oh well, yeah. I like it
coming
more.
Over from my grinder.
But it's a remake of a foreign horror. I have to see the
and the foreign horror is just as ridiculous.
And it's so slow.
It's so cheap. It's like they did it. It's like a woman walking out of a cardboard box, and that's the TV scene. It's very cheap, very very cheap.
Well, they did it best in Scary Movie
where she fights
3.
the girl.
Yeah, when she comes out of the TV,
she's eating popcorn.
Those movies are so awesome.
But I love those because
Is that the one Marlon Wayans is banging her in a closet like an hour later?
No, the third one.
He puts a bag on one of their heads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's not.
She's fugly.
She's from Blender.
Hey, that's one of our sponsors.
Inside humor.
Inside something.
Any of you guys have like maybe a horror film that's kind of that you watch for fun?
Oh wow!
For me, I'd have to be. I don't know if
Death Becomes Her.
The Women.
The Women, the remake. Oh, don't
for
get me
me,
started.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. It's Night of the Demons. It's from 1988.
I have seen it.
4 words: lipstick in the boob. If anybody's seen this, I saw it on VHS.
Didn't that happen in The Breakfast Club?
No, it's totally different.
Totally different. It's
not the same. It also happened in first period too.
Oh, it did?
Yes. They do. Never mind.
I do. Every once in a while I watch, it's not super scary, but when I'm doing a house cleaning day, The Skeleton Key.
Oh.
I don't know why. It's not that.
That's why I love you. I love that you have such great collection of movies and you watch Skeleton Key.
It's not on Criterion yet, so.
You're trying to make an argument for why Death Becomes Her should be in Criterion.
I don't have to make that argument. I think it makes it for itself. criterion.
I have two films. I used to watch House when I was a kid. Very dark. Wife dies. Ex-Vietnam vet. And then they made a sequel, and that's the one I watch a lot more than the original, is House 2, obviously. It's a lot more campy and fun-loving, and there's like a fun-loving dead guy and a bug that goes around the house. It's a very Muppet-esque type bug. And the guy from Cheers shows up, the mailman.
What do you
like
Norm? Not
Norm. Yeah, spoiler alert. Like
Cliff.
He's like Cliff. Yeah, he's a superhero. And the tone of it is so completely different. It's like a funny comedy compared to the first one, which made me want to hide under like a bed somewhere. It's check it out.
I like when horror movies are able to balance the humor. You look at something like An American Werewolf in London. That
You really scared me, you shithead. You gonna help me up or what?
that's a scary movie to me.
That's a great movie.
But but then you have the guy, his best friend, who's just a rotting corpse throughout the film, and there's great relief when he's on there because you're so worked up because of this, and then he shows up. I think Cabin in the Woods, the Joss Whedon movie, I loved it. I thought what it touched on, the fears, how they're all boxed up, and we all have different type of fears. And I like that movie. Now, I think a lot of people were expecting more of a straight horror with that one.
I don't know if I was expecting such a straight horror, but just something different. I liked it. I appreciated it. I don't think I loved it, but I did appreciate it.
I liked it and appreciated it. I think that's a good way of putting it. I wished it was better. I wish it was good at everything. Yeah, it was a little self-aware, a little too meta, even though it was made 4 years before it was released. Which is good timing. Or was it? It really was 2 years, right?
Yeah.
They pushed it.
It sat on the shelf because, what was it? MGM was going through a bankruptcy. Not like people want to hear those kind of tidbits.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, did we just have a paranormal
What was that?
Okay, something just popped in this room, and we have no idea what it was. I felt it vibrate. The whole room shook.
The floor shook. What was that?
Should we pause?
No,
I think everybody needs to hear that. That was crazy.
That's fucking...
That really is crazy. Hey, guys,
this is not staged.
We're going to pause the episode for 1 minute, guys. We'll be right back.
Sorry, guys. We had some technical /
paranormal activity.
some difficulties, if you will. But anywho,
we just got up for a pee break.
I still have goosebumps. I'm still kind of creeped out.
I would really appreciate it, Jordan, if you could find out what that was tomorrow and at least report.
So what happened is we're sitting here and we hear this, what sounds like a bowling ball hit the floor, and the floor shakes under us, and nothing has moved in the room. It is freaking creepy.
And all the mics spiked.
All the mics spiked. This is some poltergeist shit going on in here.
But we're troopers.
It's the ghost of Eileen Brennan.
I guess I'm the only one that's just
you didn't even get out of your seat. You're
it's because we've spent our lives watching horror movies, so we are amped up, running around. We're breaking all the rules because we're splitting up to go look for where the noise came from.
They try to reenact it by knocking on the door.
We are trying.
Rob's just whatever.
We actually have audio of us reenacting that noise.
And we have audio of the slam that was under our feet.
Yeah. So sorry, Brenda. We can.
So we might have trouble sleeping tonight. Anyways,
I won't.
You're I'm going to sleep like a baby until you watch The Conjuring. Speaking of The Conjuring, Insidious 2 is right around the corner.
Yes.
I want to know what you guys thought of the first one, and it's the same director, James Wan, who's also the director of the original Saw. He did Insidious, which I loved, and now with The Conjuring, I'm really excited. Now having seen The Conjuring, I'm really excited to see how Insidious 2 is going to be.
Yeah, I'm really sold on him.
Or Fast and Furious 7.
Yeah, I'm sold on him now. I mean, obviously with Saw, and like I think he did Dead Silence about.
Yeah, Dead Silence was
awful.
Was awful.
Although it had the guy from True Blood. But anyways, Rob still hasn't seen Insidious, right?
Nope.
He still has not seen it, so we need to watch it before.
It breaks a lot of quote unquote rules, like
scary
shit happening during the daytime.
Yes, they show a lot. They don't. The ending, like I said, kind of killed it for me. It's a little too wacky, but it's very like I said earlier, it's very Carnival of Souls.
And was it you that was saying that they don't just show the paranormal activity, but they show the chaos after? Someone was mentioning to me that was one thing they liked about Insidious was that you get to see much more of the after. Because a lot of times in horror movies, the big scare will happen, someone will scream, and then it just cuts to like they're in the kitchen. Suddenly they're in the kitchen, shaking, drinking coffee, trying to tell some. But Insidious kind of keeps going with the after. I don't know.
It just seems so natural. I mean, I think I've said that there's no CGI. I think that's true. I don't want to. Don't quote me on that.
I know the Conjuring. They're supposedly done.
There had to have been. Oh no, there didn't.
There doesn't necessarily have to have been.
Well,
there was the sheet thing
like
was
that.
probably CGI.
But with Insidious,
the birds.
I think it's the actors. I think Patrick Wilson makes a very bland hero, and you can put anything on him, and it's true. Like, you know, you put anything on his persona.
No, but Rose Byrne does a great job.
I love Rose Byrne. Yeah, and Barbara Hershey, her whole monologue about seeing the ghost.
You know, it's interesting. I just was thinking when you said that, in a lot of horror movies, it's the women that are really carrying the weight of the emotional gravitas. You don't have a lot of men. I mean, maybe Exorcist, you know, the men are kind of central. The
one thing I'm going to say.
What? What'd you say?
Nightmare on Elm Street 2. It's hard for a man to carry a horror film emotionally
because you look at they
look like weak.
Poltergeist, you know, it's JoBeth Williams is the emotional center.
Oh, she is.
And you look at a lot of horror movies, it's the women that are the ones. And we've been talking about The Conjuring, we've been talking about Vera Farmiga, we've been talking about Lily Taylor. Ron Livingston's in it, but he's kind of
he didn't do much, but I did like.
He did
show you a little. You could see that kind of helplessness from him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he
Ron
felt
Livingston
that.
in what?
In Conjuring, he plays the husband.
He's in that?
Yeah.
Swoon.
He is, he's cute, but
Really?
he doesn't do much in it.
Really?
Yeah.
But that's the great thing is, it's where you can make a cheesy, schlocky horror movie, but you can cast it with good actors. And what I like is these good actors are going to work for him for no money and to do a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that. Those are some great parts. That's why I want like the Independent Spirit Awards, because his movies always cost less than 20. I think the Insidious cost $5 million. To really validate these actresses and these actors they do good work in these movies. So
they really do.
I'm excited for the second one.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had a lot to say about the ending, even though the movie in general, I really liked it.
Yeah.
But the ending did kind of, I guess, for some people, leave them wanting. So
I have to say it was not my favorite movie when I saw it. I did not like the ending, and I did not like some of the choices that were made. In hindsight, I appreciate it, and it's grown on me. But when I first saw it, I remember at the end, I was thinking, I didn't like that.
That ending can ruin it for you. Trust me. You're thinking, how scary is this movie? And then tiptoe through the. I mean, it just.
The use of that song
is so effective, but it's too wacky, and it's too. I'm going to show you guys that Carnival of Souls so you can kind of understand what it took from.
I mean, yeah, it did have parts where it kind of got a little wacky, but it's still at the core, and it is that same topic that you said has kind of been done to death, where the ghosts in the house. But I think another thing, it's not like a dumb family. They even try moving houses. It's not like they're doing a lot of the cliches. Like,
they got right out of that house.
Yeah, they're like, what the hell's going on? We need to get the hell out of here. Screw this. And it's still something that's messing with them. So I'm kind of curious to see how it continues in the second one.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I love scary movies, and I love October because they always put out classic scary movies on Blu-ray and DVD, and so it's always really fun.
All right, guys. So this has been us talking about American horror.
and having a little bit of American horror ourselves.
Experience.
I'm ready to go, Brenda.
Okay, don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This is Brenda.
This is Jordan.
This is Curtis.
This is Rob rolling his eyes.
This is Dan.
Bye-bye, Spirit.
Clear. Clear.
Thank